You know when I'm happy, when I'm sad, the only way I know to express myself is through music. And we're all sad right now. I feel it. Let's go.
It's getting harder for me to breathe right now, 'cause all our stars are falling. Catch me 'cause I'm falling. God help me, I'm calling you to let the sun shine now. Help these tears stop falling. Let me keep on falling. It hurts, but now it's up to you.
Come on.
Can we come together? If things stay the same, will there be change? The answer is never. But I know together we can get through whatever. It's hard to see, but if we believe it can get better, Wakanda forever.
Welcome to Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Well, it's wow. It's been a rough year, real rough, and I think in that process, there's some things where you could say this is a true apocalypse, and people misunderstand the word apocalypse from its original meaning. And apocalypse is the revelation. That's what it means. It's supposed to be a revelation where you are revealing or understanding something greater. And so when I personally look at this year for me thus far, there's a lot of revelations I've had. And one of the key things that hits me is a old lesson that I had from grad school, and in one of my worst times, I had that at the moment from the Lord of it's all going to pass. And a lot of people will look at that as just a get on through type of thing. But in reality, it all is going to pass. The good, the bad, the ridiculous, the profound. It all passes away. It all goes through. And I think what ends up happening, we are under a delusion of a human immortal kingdom, or a permanent state. We've reached our apex. We can't have this happen. We're this. I deserve this. That can't happen to me. I'm a good person, therefore this, and it's like, no, the rain falls on the just and unjust alike. And in particular, when I look at Chadwick Boseman, I think a lot of folks just say, like, look, Black Panther died. That sucks. It's like, no, man. If you look at what he played as an actor, he played the greatest in the culture. If you look at his repertoire, you're doing Jackie Robinson and Thurgood Marshall. It's the greatest of us. The ones that push boundaries, the ones that sought for equality from a legal standpoint. The talented 10th. It is a I wouldn't say it's a miracle, but it sort of is, that a great black actor didn't have to shuck and jive, didn't have to debase himself. Uh, as Dave Chappelle said, didn't have to wear a dress and be emasculated to find his place in Hollywood. Uh, he came in competence and power. Like you can even say with the story about how Denzel Washington supported him through acting school. That is something great. He didn't have to go. He didn't have to go and do the off Broadway production. He didn't have to do the bad side project. You know, he didn't have to do all of that. And because of that, it allowed for him to have a great perspective on life and on things, and it allowed for him to be a really good actor. So I know, like I said, it's so easy just to say, "Yay, Wakanda forever," and I was on Wakanda forever, you know, before Chadwick Boseman was was Black Panther. But to say in the history of it that you wear the mantle well, I think that's the only thing that any of us can ask for when we're all done, is that those that are coming behind you say, this person wore their mantle well and walked forward, paving paths for us, and they were an example of impeccable character. Not perfect, and I think that's the flaw of modern hero deconstruction. Oh, we found out this person did something bad, cancel them. It's like, no, there's no heroes then. There's no one to look up to. You go look at my personal life, from whatever political perspective you have, you're going to be like, Edward's no hero. Okay, if we're under that mindset, but yeah, it's definitely been, from a personality's perspective for me, it's definitely been a rough year. I respected Chadwick Boseman for his work. I definitely respected him for his work. I know Black Panther is not dead. He's a man putting on that act, but you respect the man. You respect how the man carried himself. I would argue, I had a man that has been influential to me intellectually and philosophically since childhood died this year. And some people might know him, some people might not. It's Ravi Zacharias. And that hit me hard, because when you have a man that says helping the believer think and the thinker believe as his main mission in life, to look at the philosophical challenges that face humanity and then say, hey, Christ is an answer. and do it in good faith, and then deal with those who completely disagree, and deal with them in good faith. It was a lot, because from him I received the grand philosophical statement that all philosophers come to, but he said it was important in evangelism and importance in intellectual debate, is the phrase, I don't know. When you don't know, and not trying to make solutions up when you don't know. And I've had to apply that standard to myself as a thinker, as a leader, as a captain, and even on this podcast. There's just times I don't know how certain combos go together. Just don't. I can see a potential there, but I don't know. And I'll even leave it open on my reviews, like, I'm not quite sure, but there's something. And sometimes I'm later proven to be correct, or just too far ahead of the curve. Or maybe I was just wrong. So, but I'll tell you this. I know a lot of folks will be like, hug your loved ones. I would tell you just something more important I saw in the doctor's office the other day. Go get checked for colon cancer. If you want to remember Chadwick Boseman, go get a physical. Go get checked for colon cancer. Colon cancer is the number 2 cause of death in the United States in terms of cancer. So, men get it, women get it. So encourage all your loved ones to go and get checked for colon cancer. All right, let's get into some darn heroclix. Let's assess the legacy of ROC Cup and its impact going forward, and things that we really, really, really need to think about moving ahead of time. Now, note, I want to be clear. This isn't me crapping on on ROC Cup. This is not just me, giving ROC Cup a pass on things. I'm trying to objectively, as best as I can, look at the situation as a player and as a team captain and as a participant. Okay, so I'm trying to put all of those things in context. So if I'm throwing something out there and be like, I don't feel this, I'm like, it's probably not for you, man. It's probably not for you. So let's start off. Singles. So I played singles. I didn't play teams. I popped in with us on teams. We got second place. Yeah. Feeling good. Lucas Van Hollen, PJ Bolin, and Joe. So I'm happy and hype on that, and congrats to them. We had another one of our teams. They got top 8, and then our 2 teams had to play each other in top 8. Shout out to Kevin. Shout outs to Azareth, and shout outs to Brian. Y'all did good work. So let's talk about singles. First and foremost, I know some folks be like, well, what did you play, Dark Logos? Well, what did you play? And I played what's called You Hadn't Been Practicing, but you have friends and you're bored. That's what I played. So when I give you this hodgepodge, you're going to be like, how did you go 3-2? And I'll be like, grace of God. I mean, like that happens. All right. So first and foremost, I have Silver Surfer at 75, the new one. The Prime Surfer, Astronomer at 75, with the Bearer of the Gem. Valeria Von Doom, of course, Proteus, and Tri-Sentinel. And then I have the spin ring on the side, and I have on my sideboard, I have Vulcan, Batman, Flash, Grodd, Flash, Firestorm, Black Mana. So I functionally had 2 Flashes, 2 Vulcans, 1 Firestorm. Normally I double up on Firestorm, but I just felt this was a reach out and touch somebody's hand meta. So, yeah, and I had Black Mana to that. I should have added in Lex. And that was a mistake. Because, yeah, that was a mistake. I should have added in Lex. But I'm not going to be like, throw my boys under the bus and saying I got talked out of it. But there were some concerns about how Lex fit inside of my aggro, and he didn't fit completely. He was just another enhancement. So let's talk about this, and I'll break this down. First and foremost, this team is I reach you across and touch you in your starting area. Between the Perplex from Dawn Green Star, and then you're able to get Astronomer to get a Reality Gem, which almost one-turned. I one-turned Captain Marvel. I didn't win the game, but I crit hit. I had the Reality Gem on Astronomer. Crit hit with the Heavy Object with the first TK attack. Crit hit again with the second TK attack. Hit and hit. Oh, yeah. One-turned Captain Marvel. I felt good. It feels good. Yeah. So that was great. All right, but you're able to send out both surfers. They're gonna have a +1 defense because they're because they're cosmic. When you TK them out, and then the following turn they just yeet themselves across the map, and they start throwing that cosmic rays. One thing to remember about Surfer, normal Surfer, is that if you hit somebody with their attack, not just run through them, because we get used to that from Captain Marvel land, but hit them with an attack, they're stuck. How many times did I remember that? Not enough. So that is something to think about. The other Surfer, Prime Surfer, says, hey, yo, dog, you can't use willpower, or you cannot have protected out wit. Do you know how many times I remembered that? Not a lot. So when I talk about, yo, you probably want to practice this, I am the chief of sinners of not practicing. But I also, again, made the build up 3 hours before it was due. Valeria Von Doom does Valeria Von Doom things, but the thing is, you combine Valeria Von Doom, flipping them pancakes, and with the spin ring, with Proteus, allowing you to just create all sorts of shenanigans. It's all kinds of wonderful, because you are in line with Green Proteus. She makes her move, places the terrain, and then Tri-Sentinel says, thank you very much for creating a space for me to do free damage. And Tri-Sentinel does it, and you laugh, and it allows you to just kill things that you shouldn't kill. And that's sort of the lesson I learned from Proteus, was Proteus allowed me, with the combination of Tri-Sentinel, to kill things that I shouldn't been able to kill. All because more terrain is placed there, and I know how to maneuver Tri-Sentinel because I was taught by the only High Council Jedi Master of Tri-Sentinel playing, Lucas Van Hollen. Okay, so because of that, I know how you're able to just wreck people with Tri-Sentinel. All right, so the fact that I'm able to constantly regenerate, blocking terrain in an area, that's broke, son. So yeah, overall, I can't say oh man, I got smoked in any of my games. That didn't happen. I did have a game where I think I got down to Valeria. Oh no, I did. I lost one game where I got wiped. But the reality of it is, this team is like pre-alpha. And I know some of you are probably saying, like, why didn't you go cosmic? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And that's just because you could not, with what was in the meta, I felt like I could not get to high enough theme and be efficient. And because of that, I knew, like, if I was going to move forward, I would have to pick one surfer. And for people who don't know, Dawn Greenwood can perplex either surfer. Now, she dies, she only boosts up rare surfer. But she can perplex up either surfer because her perplex says character named Silver Surfer. So that is really important. So anyway, overall, the team is probably in the B minus, going to be revamped by someone to be made better. The fact with Double Surfer, the one regret that I have in playing it is that, number one, not remembering that, when I punch or hit or run over people, effects happen. But also just, you don't get as much damage output as you think. And the one that was just sort of like, Kamehameha, was Astronomer. Like, Astronomer was busting caps in people with the power gem. He was like, yo, man, I hit you for 5. And then they'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll take 5. Now take one more. What? It's like power gem. I rolled that 10. Take that one more. So I would be tempted to say that dropping one of the surfers for another astronomer is worth it. I mean, you have to play with points, but I think it would be worth it if you're looking at refining it. And then you're using Silver Surfer, one of your Silver Surfers, as your cleaner. And I think that's fine. All right. So enough about my team. Let's talk about the legend of going off into the deep dark, which was Saturday singles. Oh man, I'm gonna start with the pros of singles, and I'm gonna go and then talk about the cons. The pros, because I'm being positive and I'm leaving positivity. The event ended. I did not have to question if I was going to miss work to finish singles. Okay, so there's that. Number 2, the memes were legendary in the chat. It was fun. Memes was had by all. Connor, shout outs to Connor throwing out the memes. Lucas Van Hollen throwing out the memes. I mean, I'm throwing out memes. Hell, I'm throwing out memes. That's how bad it is. I'm throwing out memes. People are chatting with one another. We had international players. I heard the Australians were in there. We had a gentleman from Thailand. Props. Just props on all of that, So, yeah. I think that we had the Canadians there, but the Canadians are sort of always there. I almost played Tom Kerr. It was going to be a podcaster off. That didn't happen because, pairings had to be redone. So, those are the positives. Let's talk about the negatives, and I'm going to try to be as constructive as possible. I'm going to talk about the dials. And I'm going to talk about how we could get our teams, because that was an issue as well. The 100% fact, that we had these special dials for this event was unnecessary. It was nice. It was sort of cool, but it was unnecessary because it's slow. It's slow. All right. I have no way to, number one, preload any of these things. And if I can't preload them, because all of them have to be programmed in, then guess what? That means that for the amount of work that's being put in, it's not worth it, because all you would have to do is just set up a parameter that says the first circle, the red circle, is your click number. And then you can use the other two to dictate tokens or game effects that are on the character. And then to let a person know that there may be under a game effect, you can choose the following: green, blue, purple. If you're dealing with duplicates, feel free to pick these colors. Blah, blah, blah. When you are under effect of a token or other effects, please use these following symbols. That's easy. It's so easy, okay? And the fact that I have to go in, right click, hit the second button, then go to the slider, and then the sliders are not telling me exactly what click I'm on, and I'm sort of like trying to eyeball and see if I'm on the right click. It's taking me 20, 30 seconds to do all this. It got to the point where I just said to my opponent, screw it. I'm just going to click and put in my guys. Put in my number up in there. Just click it and you're going to know what's up. Okay. And my games went faster. I just said, like, look, man, just don't look at the dial that's being presented. Look at the click that I'm putting in there. And then we're going to look at realms. Because this is the other part that becomes an issue. This game is not a on-dial game anymore. It's not. I don't have psychic powers. I'm not tied up to Skynet. I'm not part of the Borg. I am not getting digital information on high or divine revelation of what the traits are or what the special powers are for a figure. Thus, this whole affair of you looking at the dial and knowing what's going on is moot. It's moot. It's a lot of fancy for nothing, because I still have to have realms open to look. Like, being 100, I still have to have realms open. And if that is not something to be really concerned about, or even thinking about in this process, then you're losing the plot. You lost the plot. If the idea is to have it so that people have an easier time, and in the process of an easier time, you are doing more steps than you normally are. With click, click, type. Click, click, type. If whatever I'm doing is more steps than click, click, type, I'm sorry. You're adding extra steps to instant noodles. Open packet. Put noodles in bowl. Put water in bowl. Microwave. Take undo soup packet. Stir soup packet. Done. If I have to go and add step, go to your kitchen and add 3 cups of oil. Like, why am I adding that much oil? What the heck am I doing? That makes no sense. or have to go, or have to be like, go to your kitchen, pull out paprika, thyme, basil, cumin. Like if I have to do all that myself, what's the purpose of me having instant noodles? So again, do I respect the craft? Yes, I do. I will give, in terms of artistry, it's a 9 out of 10. But in terms of utility, no, man, this is jank. This is not a good idea. And going forward, for the amount of work that has to be done to program every single one of these tokens, and the fact that we can't play with them or practice with them, it creates a hurdle where people will just be like, screw it, I'm gonna skip over it because it's easier. All right, next up, and this is another part that I could say is mildly concerning. If the fact that these special creations have to be loaded into each game, and I can look at that as a player because I'm a GM, then I can look at everybody's team in prep. So I know some folks will be like, hey, man, if you're in an organization and you're looking at the top players, yeah, dude, you can sort of prep for your next opponent. But here's the issue. This is where I'm sort of bringing back the concern. Due to the lag of how long it took to set up, and it's like 15, 20 minutes in between rounds, I can take that time as a member on a team or as an individual person and just look at builds and be like, this build does boop, 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 boop. This build does boop, 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 boop. I need to be concerned about blank, 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 blank. And it's like, and the beat goes on. And like, that's pretty much what you're dealing with. I can go through all of the teams and know what they're going to do before I face them, thus giving me a ton of information. A ton of information in preparation for my matchup, because I can not only just see the teams, but I can see your map. And the fact that I can see your map or map list as well just lets me know what you're about to do. All right. Now you could say, Dark Logos, not everybody's been, a caster like you. Not everybody's been, put the analysis in like you. How do you know that's an issue? I'm like, legit, it is an issue. It is an issue because I can sit here and I can almost guarantee when it came to teams, everybody that made tops and teams looked at those pictures. I'm not going to front, we did. And the reason I say that is it was public information. It's literally public information made by the judge team. And it's nothing new because there was nothing that was said like you can't look in there, because in my first round of singles, it took so long. Connor revealed to me, it's like, look, there's an extra tab and we can look at, we could just put our teams out here. And when I did that, I looked at it, I was like, here's everybody's team. Now, I didn't go and be like, hey, like, oh, everybody, so-and-so is playing this, so-and-so's playing that, blah, 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 blah. I didn't do that at that time. But what I did do is I just started eyeballing teams and figuring stuff out because I had freaking 30 minutes to figure it out. Now, I didn't play anybody that I eyeballed, but anybody that I thought was a major competition, I looked at their team. And I took time to analyze their makeup. So here's the issue where I'm pointing out the liability of having like all of these figures like out in the open for everyone to see. it creates a problem. It creates a problem because you functionally allow everyone to scout. Now, if you are in the open information camp, this is no problem. This is not a problem. If you're in the I want my team held close to the chest during competition, this is a huge problem. And I'm not siding on one side or the other and saying one philosophy is better than the other in this podcast. But what I am saying is it creates an issue that going forward, the ROC has to figure out before we go into Worlds. Like, are we going to is this token system worth it so that we avoid whatever this other cascade of problems are? And that needs to be brought up. Like, what are these cascade of problems? Is it the fact that people do not have their tokens ready? Well, guess what? You need to have a little thing before all your ROC events. When people sign up, it's like, what are you required to have? You're required to have your pictures and all this other stuff. What else are you required to have? You are required to have all of your images ready. Dude, if I can put my team inside of a folder, anyone can do it. Okay? It's that simple. Put your team inside of a folder. That's it. On Roll20. And you're able to just boop, boop, just pop it all out. And then you're able to arrange everything. You're able to get started. Okay. The next thing is the time, how long the rounds took. And I will say this, things did get better for teams. I did talk to my teammates on that. And realizing the time in between rounds being so much of an issue that you have to start asking yourself, okay, how many people can we realistically handle and be timely? The other question that you need to ask yourself is, if the win is trash, why are we still using the win for big events? And if we're not using the win for big events, it seems literally to be faster to hand do pairings. It just seems to be. So what does hand written pairings and manual entry into the win look like? Is that worth it from a time perspective? And if the answer is maybe, then I would encourage, the ROC to look at that. Because even if there's like some other like super system from Wizards of the Coast, okay, great, do it. It's just, to me, WizKids has a system that functions, and it doesn't function well. So much so they don't use their own system for major events, but they aren't willing to spend the money to buy the thing that they use for big events. And if the thing is, Norm's custom programming that he uses, then you know what? Freaking just pay Norm the money. Stop being cheap. Okay? There's a point in business where you start having this moment of, it is cheaper to outsource, and I know it's a sore subject, and I'm not pro outsourcing to China and outside of your country and all this other stuff. But there's a point where you need to spend money. Spending the money on having someone else do the work is cheaper. It's just cheaper. You trying to do it yourself is a waste of time and money. And for WizKids and ROC, using the win for any event over 20 people is a waste of time and money. It just is. Okay. Let's sort of wrap up the negatives. I think all in all, 5 rounds is necessary. But if 5 rounds is necessary, then we need to probably start around 11 Eastern. Okay, I'm just saying with the current timelines, we probably need to start an hour earlier. But again, if it's like, look, we can't get a majority of the staff up that early, then okay, I understand. All right, so that's what I look at. That's what I've come to from looking at singles. Like, these are things that we need to look at as a community. And if we don't look at them as members of the community and say, yeah, we got to fix this, or yeah, we got to think about some better stuff. As a function of our events, online starts to become a problem. It becomes a major problem, and we're not able to sort of go to that next level because we're not able to get the attendance for events. When I look at the pricing, because this is ROC, I think there's something that WizKids needs to establish. And that needs to be, what does pricing look like for their premier events? Because ROC Nationals is a premier event. What does pricing look like for their premier event? In these situations, if you're not going to have events in person, what are you doing? Like, how are you getting your yearly exclusives out? How are you making these big deals? More so, I would also throw in there, how are you, WizKids, as an organization, going to make me think about the ROC as a serious contender for events, for ROC Nationals in particular, when I'm not getting anything comparable to what I would get at WizKids Nationals. So those are things that I think that legitimately need to be thought about and presented. Even if you were going to, go so far to say, like, hey, show up to ROC Nationals, you're going to get emailed a custom code, and when you email us this custom code, you're going to be able to unlock the ability to buy blank, blank, blank at checkout. So you would be able to, let's just say, buy Dark Phoenix, or your Zombie Galactus, or whatever else that you want to buy at checkout. Thus, creating a situation where it's like, I paid $30 to do Nats, and I get a custom code, which allow me to buy the con exclusives, the purchasable con exclusives from this year. And now WizKids makes money, and it's worth it to go to do a ROC event. And I think that's something that was just missed. Like, no one thought that through of like, oh, we could make dollary dues. And I know WizKids is like, well, we need to have things appear at our events first. And I'm like, that's dumb. That's dumb. And it's real dumb from a marketing and branding perspective, because number one, out of your own mouth, you bought the ROC. Okay. Number two, you were sponsoring Nats. Okay. Number three, you did not want to do any in-person events, yet you're willing to sit on product for a year and not make money, all for the prestige that does not put money in your pocket to be the first to reveal things yourself. And in either situation, you get all the dollary dues. That doesn't make sense. Okay? Unless, get my little hand rubbing. All of this is not about the players and dollary dues. It's about being noticed and recognized by Gamma and noticed and recognized by Origins. I think Origins is Gamma. But Origins and Gen Con and all these other events. That's what it's about. You want to be the big miniature player on campus when there's not that many other competitors in the miniatures game state on the same scale as WizKids. Okay, cool. So you're fighting to be number one in a very small pond. Okay. So when all is said and done, from a business perspective, Zoran failed his own test. Okay? Zoran failed his own test from a leadership perspective because there is, you have no incentive to hold on to 2020 con exclusives at all. And definitely when you're selling Galactus, you are point of sale shipping out Galactus. So you don't have a problem. You don't have a problem doing it. So all you had to do is put the purchasables up. I'm not even saying you had to put the winnables up. I'm not even saying that. But the fact of the matter is that the purchasables not being available for this event, for ROC Nationals, considering that we didn't have a WizKids Nationals and we're not going to have a WizKids Worlds, it's just foolish. And this is something I'm going to throw out there. Howard couldn't negotiate that. Howard couldn't negotiate that because of the perspective of WizKids. They did not deem it as a win. And because they didn't deem it as a win, guess what? It's never going to be on the table. It's never going to be on the table. And you can't, and at that point, I would make the question, I would seriously question, and I would ask WizKids this. What was your projections on how much profit you would make in the long term by holding? What was your profit projection? What's your ROI? Okay. Because everything, this basic preacher knows about money in the economy, and definitely the current economy where we have massive inflation due to the coronavirus, and we're looking at governments around the world printing money. And your asset, the longer that it stays in the yard, in China, in your warehouse, wherever the product toys are, the longer that they stay there, they are not only holding up warehouse space, which is costing you money, but they are also not being used for transactions, for immediate bills. Okay? And you're willing to take less buying power in the future because regardless of what's going on, if coronavirus didn't happen, inflation is a constant. So you're willing until a market reset or a currency reset. So you're willing to deal with a depreciating value on your product for the ta-da factor, when you would have tons of people clamor for your product and you did not have to deal with gamma. You didn't have to deal with gamma. And you didn't have to deal with origins. Neither of those major corporations got a cut of your pie. And you just had to cover minor overhead, which was still less than the 20 to 30%, which I'm betting, that gamma and origins is taken out of your profit. Probably 20, maybe 10 with origins. It's still less. If I do a bulk order and you ship me all of the purchasables, you're still paying less. You're still making more money than you would going to gamma. Now, here's what I think the real issue is. And I know folks will be like, Edward went to go talking about WizKids and he started popping off. The real issue is they don't want to hire the manpower to do it. And that's 100. They don't want to hire the manpower to do it. And they'd be like, well, we don't want to cut out retailers. BS! If they said stuff like that, because con exclusives have not ever been first wave sold through stores. They haven't. And if you are ever concerned about people buying 8, 9, and 10 of them, you can limit your purchases just like you do in person. Like you, once per 2 weeks or once per month, you can buy this. You have your WizKids account, we can see it. And if you do, we'll put you on hold. We'll take your money, but we'll ship it out next month. Okay? And if we run out of stock, we'll refund your money. So you get to hold the money. And people know you get to hold the money until this is all said and done. Like, again, I am not an economic professional. I didn't go to school for economics. Okay? I went to school for theology. And if I can basically see, just looking through the window, I can see the promised land of profit. I don't know what's going on with WizKids leadership where they can't. When you can use the ROC clearly as a marketing tool. Clearly as a marketing tool to push product into hands. In particular, if WizKids came in and said that they got a 5% cut because every person that played in ROC singles got access to this set of con exclusives to buy, and everybody that played in ROC teams gets a code to get access to the second set of con exclusives when you establish with your account. That's money. That's money right there. That's so much money. Because you would have players around the world join to play just so they can buy con exclusives this year. So again, I'm not a perfect leader. I'm not a perfect economist. I am a guy who takes the time on his free time to sit and learn about the world and how it works and learn about relationships and how they work, the things relate to each other. And the truth of the matter is this. We could have had a better ROC Nationals. And WizKids dropped the ball. Yep. It's your product. Okay? You bought the ROC, it's your product. Okay? So there you go. Like there's you might be saying, oh well, it's its own entity. It's like there's this thing called umbrella corporations. It's your product. Anyway, you should be on the ball. You should be using all your avenues as point of sale. And the fact that they're not shows you some failures in leadership. All for some BS prestige so that they can get free publicity, whereas literally they can get the money now and buy the publicity later and still be ahead once you start talking about currency and buying power. But that's the thing. They're lazy and cheap in the worst ways. They're lazy and cheap in the worst ways. You could buy publicity and have more money. Anyway, anyway, too much Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power. That's go get depressed listening to that. But going forward, if I was to see one thing, here's some things I wish I could see. If I have a $30 entry, my $30 entry should give me something in return, because it's an online event. Okay, because I'm paying more than I am for a super Q that I play in person with my own stuff. Now, if the idea is that I didn't have to travel and get the hotel and all this other stuff, okay, $30 isn't bad. But with me right now, and I know it's not everybody, because a lot of people, everybody travels. That's serious. I live in Tulsa now. I got an SQ literally 10 minutes from my house. Well, my apartment. Okay, I got 10 minutes from my apartment. I have a super Q. Okay, and what that means is, in terms of value, it's like, okay, how are you beating this? And I'm not going to make it all going through myself or whatnot, but I know there's other people that's like that. Okay, so if I look at the fact that I'm paying $30 just to play, and top 16 are the only ones that get swagged out, or that, like I said, that creates a minor problem. And WizKids can easily just say, here's top 32, here's your trinkets and whatnot. There you go, buddy. Like, again, that is WizKids' job, because all their little trinkets that they hand you cost them at max $1. All of those, well, here's your little ring, buddy. Here's your Batman equipment. Here's your ID cards, and then you take your pictures and you get real happy. Okay, all those things at WizKids events, okay, they cost the company pennies. And then due to our perceived value of them, we sell them for dollars. That's the exchange. And if you're not on the top side of the mountain, in that top part of the mountain, you don't get, you get a little something, you sort of recoup your entry. So if I make top 32, you should give me something that I can sell to try to recoup my entry. It doesn't have to be, here's a $50 con exclusive, but you could just easily say, here's some trinkets, here's some of these rings, like here's these Mandarin rings, guy, you get some Mandarin rings, congratulations. But then it's like, oh, well, then I gotta ship it. I'm like, okay, so you ship 3 Mandarin rings to a guy, okay, with the box plus the shipping. All right, what does that cost? Okay, and when all said and done, in terms of profitability, it shouldn't take a good chunk of the profitability. So I look at the event and I see if it is run even in an expensive manner, there should be 50% of the money taken in as profit. 50% of the money should be taken in as profit. That's after paying the judges and shipping. And unless you're going to be like, I got to ship to, let's just say, because there's one guy that was from Thailand. I got to ship to the brother in Thailand. Okay, great. You're shipping to the brother in Thailand. He won the factory set. Okay. That's expensive. Okay, so let's just say that cost you to ship his factory set $200. Okay. That's a gamble. That guy, he came up big, he won a factory set. That is a gamble. That's a legit gamble. But if you're shipping to me in the States, you want to ship me a factory set, that's $40. That's $40. I mean, unless you're going to use UPS or FedEx, which I wouldn't use UPS or FedEx. Anyway, I'm not going to bring American post office politics into the current landscape. I'm pro the post office, like I just am. I have friends that worked in the post office, and I'm pro post office. And anyway, going back, how prizing is looked at has to be looked at thoroughly, and then just be like, hey, legit conversation. Is it just cheaper? And I mean this legitimately, to hire someone temporarily as a shipper. They are bound by contract to do everything they're supposed to do. And send it to, let's just say, a great postal hub in the center of the United States. Let's say Oklahoma, Missouri, Illinois, Kansas, Arkansas, and Nebraska. Let's just say those states. And then have all your stuff sent out from there, to try to maximize the postage being as cheap as possible. And all you have to do is pay that person in product. They have to be able to store it, willing to ship it, go through the work to ship it, have access to the money to ship it, provide all the receipts for it to be shipped, to be reimbursed. And then they're reimbursed in full for shipping, and they're paid in product. That's it. That could be pretty good. That'd be a pretty good deal. I'd take that deal. But again, I'm sort of just throwing stuff out there, hoping that it sticks against the wall. Maybe someone will listen to me, or whatnot. As for the meta from ROC, I know some of you are going to be like, what about the tech, Dark Logos? And my opinion is on the tech. A lot of what I feel that I saw coming out of Rocktober from singles and from teams, because I've looked over some of the teams stuff. But from singles in particular, I think there are two emerging trends that are, I'm not necessarily saying it's disturbing, but I do see them being an issue. I see Valeria being a major problem for what she does, and I also see theme spam with cheapo dudes being a problem. And the fact that theme spam, the way that it's going down now, is in play, I find that I find that to be discouraging. Okay? And what it does is, most of the characters that are in that theme spammy terrain are hyper efficient for what they do. And because they're hyper efficient and they have keywords, they start to imbalance things. And that's where stuff starts to break down. And I know with the whole everything Spider-Man family that's coming, that, almost theme doesn't matter. Like who line is it anyway? But unfortunately, considering that there are no map guidelines, and we're already talking about maps being good for 1 year, a guarantee good for 1 year in the ROC, and also we're looking at situations in which individuals that are designing, or the individual designing the maps, do not have clear-cut parameters on what is a healthy map and what is not. The fact that I can have this Spider-Man theme team that's plus 10, and I have all these various different mechanics just because they're cost efficient, it just creates problems. It creates problems because you can pick. Because the one thing about theme teams was it was limiting you. It was limiting you down to a handful of selections. But the fact that you open up a name keyword to a variety of additional generic keywords expands its reach beyond what theme teams should even be allowed to do. It's one thing to say, oh, we make generic theme teams, name theme teams. I'm fine with that all day. Spy Master and Cap Venom. I'm fine with that. I'm even fine with Welcome to the Legion or the X-Men, Magneto bringing people into the X-Men of certain point values of less. It's just one character. I'm fine with that. Captain America doing the same thing with Avengers, if you're certain points or less. But carte blanche, making every person in a generic subcategory Spider-Man, that's going to change how the game is played. Like, I'm just going to be real with it. Like, all the tech from Rocktober and is going to be reset. All of it. All of it once Carnage comes out. And to think that Carnage was going to be a more impactful set than JLU or Captain America and the Avengers, I wasn't expecting that. And there have been some really good sets. Like, I have to clap it up to WizKids this year. I haven't really poo-pooed them on their sets other than Justice League Unlimited with the team-up card BS. Okay, also, shout-outs to 4 Points Gaming. They got, because they won teams, shout-outs to them. They did get a full factory set of JLU. So congratulations, Scott. The millionaire got a $1,000 factory set. When are you going to donate 99% of your winnings to the rest of us in the 99%? I'm messing with you, Scott. Enjoy your prize, dude. Enjoy your prize. But realistically, like, just going back, with everything being Spider-Man, and you being able to just bring in various things together, and I'm going to say this very specifically, and we were talking about this. I was talking about this with several individuals. If I have Iron or Spider Pharaoh, I was going to say Iron Pharaoh, and she makes all of my rulers Spider-Man family. Okay? All of my rulers Spider-Man family. Then all of a sudden, I have Cosmic Panther, I have Shuri, I have all these other characters. I have Darkseid, I mean, and the list goes on, of characters that I can now utilize on top of Spinneret. who is giving me mild, not great, mild colossal retaliation protection. Okay? Just straight up. Then you have, it's like, okay, I have that, but I can have that in Valeria. So now I can create this death zone where I could just say, screw you. Come drop your Colossal Retaliator over here. If it's not Tri-Sentinel, it's about to die once it's done. So there are tons of team design things that are frustratingly insane that's about to happen. And I think that anyone that's not prepared for this, who is not realistically looking out for the implications of the generic theme teams, generic theme teams becoming named theme teams en masse, I think you're going to have some serious problems. You're going to have some serious problems. So, anyway, that's it for today's show. It's rough out. It's rough. I think if you're able to watch any games from the last few weekends, just sit there and look at placement. Look at just pause and say, like, okay, I'm in this position. I'm playing, I'm playing Adam Friedman in Adam Friedman's shoes. What is my series of plays? And just pause and look and be like, all right, so I would do this, I would do this, and I would do this. Okay. So once you set yourself up from that, I think that's the most that you can learn or gather from this event, because the meta's changing. The meta is straight hard shifting with Carnage. And I think there's some dark stuff coming. There's some, and I know it sounds like super ominous, and oh my lord, it's Dark Logos. He's saying the sky's falling again. But I'm being surreal, being for real and not surreal. If I'm able to massively boost a theme team and have access, a name theme team, and have access to options in which that name theme team never had in history. Never had in history. There are game design repercussions for years for this mistake by WizKids. Years. Because let's just say you go to the end of, near the end of retirement, and we introduce, and Tri-Sentinel is gone, but Peggy, whoever her name is still there. Okay? And now we have, let's say Isaac is retired too. Okay? So now we have a situation where I got Low Point Ultron, I have Amazo, I have Cyclops Sentinel, and now I have new, let's just say, Sentinel Bastion 1, or maybe not that, Operation Zero Tolerance, Sentinel, human Sentinels, and they are 10 points each. Okay, and they're 10 points each. They have Sentinel keyword, robot keyword, and they have their multiple dials. And if you spend 15 points, you can pick the dial. But let's just say all their dials for their 5 dials are Perplex, Outwit, Enhancement, and Power for their 4 dials. And they start on that click with that power, and on their second click they don't have it, and then they die. Okay? Let's just say that exists in the future. Or you get a cyborg who has like adaptive armor, adaptive skeleton. Give cyborg a power action. He can activate a ranged attack using any standard attack power for free. He can use any standard attack power for free or whatever. And then he has like boom 2 placement where if he moves 5 squares or less, he can he gets to use phasing for free. Something like that. All right, so we have some weird combos that happen. And now all of a sudden, while normally this would have been robot, now I can say this is Spider-Man family. And now I can go in and dip into Spider-Man family options. Now I can play Spinneret. Oh, now here's that freaking Spider-Man that doesn't die from Captain America and the Avengers. And it's just like, why? So we better get some theme team hate. We have to. If you're going to introduce a mechanic like this within your next 2 sets, you're going to have to introduce theme team hate. Because if you don't, this is going to get absurd. Anyway, that's it. That's it. So I'd like to thank you all for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, eulogize the living because at least they get to hear it. Eulogize the living, at least they get to hear it. Selah. Anyway, you can follow me on at StartOverPod. You can find all the new shows out there. If you don't like to follow me or don't want to, not necessarily follow me, sorry. If YouTube is being crappy to YouTubers. Everybody's complaining about it. Your favorite YouTubers are all complaining about it. So yeah, you already know what's up. Next up, you can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. There you go. You can email me there. If tell me what you think. If you're sad about Chadwick Boseman, you're sad about not being able to do nationals, or you're happy about things, hit a brother up. Okay, I am congested so bad. I'm having this really hard time breathing. Anyway, and if you want to donate to the show, you can go over to startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. And on there, there is a donation button. All right, I'd like to thank you all for listening. I tried to make sure to go over an hour, just give you all a little bit more. And I know folks will be like, Edward, you were cooking whiz kids. And it's like, look, I'm not necessarily just cooking them for entertainment purposes. I don't have malice against whiz kids. I don't hate them as people. I'm sort of over that part of my life. But there's some priorities. There's some priorities. There's some understandings. There's some meetings I know I'm not privy to. Okay? It could be all in all, the NECA guy is just a dumb dude when it comes to business, and he got lucky as a toy manufacturer. That could have just been it. But, there's stuff that needs to be done. And Worlds, you're going to have to up that pricing. But that's a whole nother can of worms, and which I don't think WizKids is going to go deal with. So, all right. Thank you once again. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.